Salam, salam. This is a little question I see floating around the algorithm a lot. So this is going to be another perspective on what the actual jinn is. I know some schools of thought people are seeing that the Quran may mean something different, or maybe they've been taught it wrong, or something of the such, or their understanding of it. Some people say like the 5%ers or the man is mine, that the Quran has a different allegorical breakdown of things like that. Well, let's just say some Muslims believe that jinn are just actual people, or they could be broken down as a word that means different things in the Quran. There's actual jinn in the Quran talking about that they were Jews also. You know, there's words in Arabic that can be used for different meanings in Arabic. Okay, and that's just a fact. Let's see what the Hazur Khalifa Masih the fifth uh, thinks about it.
As MD Muslims, what do we believe about jinns and the power of jinns?
See, jinn is not something which we perceive.
I mean, something that it's, we can't perceive it. Okay,
Or imagine the word jinn has different connotation. Bacterias,
okay. Like I said, it's a word that can mean different things. Also in the hadith when they say like bones are food of jinn, this is what he means when he says jinn can be bacteria or germs. You follow me? It's like
or also called jinn
scientific.
in Arabic. Any hidden thing is also called jinn in
Something that's hidden also means jinn.
Arabic. All those big people who do not appear before the public frequently, they are also called jinn.
People that don't go into public, I guess using the mystique. That kind of person, maybe celebrities type,
The strong people living in the caves and bush.
that was interesting. He says the strong people live in the caves and bush, because you know how they say, "Oh, who's the devil?" This and that, and we see that a lot of these doctrines actually came from the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and had just have been changed. Now we know the Yajuj were Majuj, or Gog and Magog, these tribes that are mentioned in the Quran. We believe that they are the Western civilizations or superpowers. The ideas of capitalism and communism, these giants. And I thought it was funny because we were just doing a DNA genetic dive on everyone that is outside of African descent, being descendants of Neanderthals from the Siberian North, an area which they say Gog and Magog was from. And like they said, some people are considered jinn. In the Quran, some shaitans are considered devils. Interesting.
Or the very strong people who are working for other people, they are also called jinn. So this is the meaning of the word jinn, right? But if you think that there is some jinn who has empowered some person and has taken over all his capabilities and senses and everything, that we do not believe. They don't have that power.
You're saying like the actual possession, the speaking in tongues, you know, the substance infused rituals. Saying that's not real.
Acha.
So if any person says that is the case, then ask them to pray and recite La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. A'udhu billah minash shaitanir rajim. And Allah Ta'ala will save you from this type of adverse situation. Normally, in illiterate people, among uneducated people, ignorant people, this is the concept that jinns have overpowered them and they have, you know, acquired all their capabilities and strength. and they do whatever they like, and you are just puppet in their hand. No, it is not the case. That is the disease.
अच्छा
It should be treated.
जी
They should contact psychiatrist, right?
जी
It's all scientific. What do you guys think about that point of view for Jinn? Here's the Khalifa before him, right here, Khalifa Tumasi the fourth. His take on Jinn.
I would like to know the relationship between Iblis, Satan, and Adam, alayhi salam. And also, I would like to know, does the word jinn applies on human or on other beings?
Not me. A lot of people.
Yes, he said this is
not
from.
to me.
Yeah, he said this is.
Don't apply the word jinn to me.
He said this question is always being raised by people in France.
Just listening to Arabic.
Sarah,
The question is threefold. The first part, and then it's followed by another one about the jinn. In fact, we can turn that into one question, because the Holy Quran says about shaitan or Iblis, kana minal jinn. So there, the boundaries of all these meet. Now, if you read carefully the account of the Quran, one thing becomes very obvious, to me at least, that Satan is the spirit of evil who is mentioned as having been made out of fire.
Okay, he talking about the Jinn. Or Iblis said is of the Jinn. So he was made of smokeless fire. He was like the first racist, first arrogant one. He didn't want to bow down to Adam, who's made from black mud. Sound familiar?
Now, according to the Arabic idiom, if something is made of something, it does not necessarily mean that he was literally molded out of that. It may be interpreted as
I'm saying like the actual Adam isn't actually made from a black mud, but something similar of it, or something that's named that. Could be Adam being the first Adam being a black man. Could be part of the reasons why a lot of the world is of a rebellious nature to the creator and has a system of racism against black men. Could be.
reflection on the character of that something. For instance, the Holy Quran says about man, خُلِقَ مِنْ أَجَلٍ. Man was created from ajal. Ajal means haste, to be in hurry, something. How can you mold hurry or haste into Adam or man? So that is a proof that when it is said that somebody is made out of that, it means he has that in him as a prominent mark of his character. So if Satan is made out of fire, it certainly means that he had that fiery, rebellious nature. If a
Fiery rebellious nature could be meaning like a fiery personality, or some people say fire signs with zodiacs. All right, that's very interesting. Also, I remember we were going through the genetic genome um, of Neanderthal, different genes passed down from them, and one of them is the super athlete gene, where they can be in higher altitude places and breathe and survive, or even having that certain heat where their bodies were set up to live in colder places. They also were, they would heat their bodies up. Their bodies would heat up, so to speak, the way they were built. As for um, Africans, to be more slender and taller because the heat would be outside already.
If he were literally made of fire, then every time he approaches anybody, he should be burnt. Has anybody felt any heat while he's thinking of bad things? Has anybody been literally burnt because of Satan? So I don't know why the mullahs do not contemplate on these things. When Arabic offers a very sensible solution, why should we accept that? So, in the sense where the religion is concerned, the Satan which we hear about is certainly not literal fire. He is of fiery nature and induces people with fiery thoughts, rebellion, destruction of things.
People like to stir things up, rebellious nature.
Burning and putting things to fire and destroying life as such.
Could be an idea, you know. Having the power to possess someone could be a certain idea, fiery thoughts. Some people call it radicalism, radicalizing someone.
This is fire. But in another sense, the word jinn is mentioned in the Holy Quran to be literally created from fire, because there he is mentioned as bacteria. And that
Can I go into a different form of the word jinn, which can be used in Arabic when it's in the literal form, speaking of fire. Bacteria, I think they multiply in fire, but I don't know if it's born from fire, but that's an interesting take.
type of bacteria which are still called pyrococcus bacteria. Bacteria made out of fire. And when the Holy Quran says,
Pyrococcus?
before man, we had created jinn from fire, there it can be taken literally. And it has to be taken literally, because there was no man to mislead. You see, that fiery nature didn't mean anything. So according to the context, you must translate the words, as I should say, you must translate the words of the Holy Quran according to the context where they're used.
And saying that the words in the Quran is getting used out of context. That even Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, even spoke about actual bacteria that we couldn't see with the eye, that fly in the wind, swim in the sea.
Then they read sense clearly. So the word jinn has been used in other senses, but here in application to Satan, we can positively say that both jinn, who is declared as having been born out of fire, and Satan himself, خلقته من نار خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين, you know, that sort of statement. Here the word nar must be translated as a man with a fiery rebellious nature, or a thing with a fiery rebellious nature. Correct? So here the Satan and the jinn meet. And who is Iblis? Iblis, as we read the story from the Holy Quran, the story means actually what happened is somebody who can speak to people, somebody who can convey messages, somebody who can insinuate.
It said, whisper into the hearts of men and jinn. You know, that a whisper, you know. Sometimes it's good to not even listen to anything bad, because you might get tempted. You know, people out here, especially California, got some game out here. You know what I mean? It might be dangerous.
By talking glibly of things which are just deceit.
Just deceit, though, gilded in gold.
So from that I judge, I infer that whenever Satan, that evil spirit, occupies a human and turns him exactly like him, a man of rebellion, a man of deceit, a man of
Like I said, an idea could live on, you know, something that's hidden, an ideology.
destructive powers, then such a person is entitled Iblis. So that Iblis we read about in the Holy Quran must have been a personification of Satan. And we know, according to from the Quran, that Satan gave birth to a generation of Satans like him. Or Iblis did. Find out.
The Mazda CX-5 has more to impress you, and current inventory remains unaffected by new tariffs. Discover
That means they were also productive. So whether you talk of a spirit elsewhere, outside spirit, which is referred to as Satan, or whether you speak of the character of rebellion alone, which can only be witnessed when it works in man. So in that sense, Iblis, Satan, and humans cannot be separated differently one from the other. When humans become the manifestation of Satan, because in that sense it is Nafsi Ammara which is referred to as Satan.
Nasiyamada is like the whisper of your soul where we desire to do something negative. I believe right there.
And Nafsi Ammara is something which one does not know, one does not see how it works. But one listens to Nafsi Ammara, it continues to mislead humanity.
Talking now.
And in that sense, Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam declared that everybody's Satan is running in his blood. And his Satan became Muslim. Now, when the ulama try to interpret it differently, this hadith would not permit them to do so.
Ulama talking about the most popular decision, opinion, those type of Muslims that say, oh, this means this.
So the Quran would not permit them to do so. Because according to the Holy Quran, Satan was to remain misled and astray till the day of judgment, till the day of resurrection, or doomsday, we should say. Ila Yawm al-Qiyamah. How could that Satan become a Muslim? Against the verdict of the Holy Quran. So that Satan which ran in...
That's interesting. He said until the recompense until the day of judgment. So how could a hadith say? That's why the hadiths can be very tricky, you know. You could form hadiths to mean anything. I'll be careful those hadiths. Most definitely.
in the blood must be interpreted as Nafsi Ammara, the human ego which continues to mislead humans themselves by insinuating them to do this bad thing and that bad thing and to calling them to easier ways of luxury and so on and so forth. And in that respect, if somebody has full command over one's ego, like an excellent mastery rider, his mount cannot run away without his permission, cannot make any move without his permission. So Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam completely mastered his ego, so that it was almost...
When they said the Prophet, peace be upon him, Jinn became Muslim, saying that he completely mastered his ego. Wow.
annihilated. Not almost, it was annihilated. There's nothing of evil intentions left in him at any level of consciousness or subconsciousness. So this is Satan as we understand, with reference to the Quran, Hadith, etc. So Iblis, the first Iblis must have been the unfortunate human who was occupied by Satan so much
Is he saying that the devil was a person? Is he saying that the devil is a human being? Is he saying that there's more than one Adam? Does this sound familiar to you listening? Have you ever thought such things but didn't want to tell the ulama?
He must have been listening to the Nafs Amara so often until there is no difference left between him and Nafs Amara. Until his Nafs Lawama died. The conscience which picks, when you listen overmuch to the inner voices of evil, then the voice which repels those voices gradually is strangled and dies down. So some people become personifications of the Satan and some personification of angels.
Nafsi Namara is the ego that edges you to do wrong or easier things. And listening to that, although it makes you a shaitan.
And this happens in every age. If my understanding is right, then this Iblis, and there were more than one Iblis at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, must have been Abu Jahl, Shaiba, Utbah, and so on and so forth. There's so many of them. And they did not become Muslims. So a sure sign that they were Iblis. Because Satan is told by God that you will never become rightly guided until the day of judgment. See? So this is how I join these different terms together and mend them together into an understandable entity. Thank you.
That's interesting right there. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it in the comments. Could Jinn mean something different? You know? Does this sound like some Nation of Islam stuff? Does it make sense